had a major issue on the production line earlier this week, so the entire development package for this weekend has failed. Check your workstation for the details.
Hey, what's up guys, aarava here and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2018 career mode, episode number 79 today for the Russian Grand Prix in Season 4. If you guys did miss the previous episode, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. Quite a hectic Singapore Grand Prix with a bit of a sprint race right at the end with 2 safety cars involved in that one. Probably a little bit less hectic for this one, the Russian Grand Prix, but we head into this episode. Unfortunately, you would have heard there by the intro, a failure of that ultimate weight reduction update we're hoping to get on the chassis front. So we plateau into Russia. You can see Renault make another step forward there and are so close. I think the closest they've ever been to McLaren then in the top 3 kind of fight there on the performance chart. Mercedes plateau with Toros a tiny update, and Sauber actually now getting away fully from Force India. Looks like Force India might be saving up a lot of points for the end of the season and the R&D regulation change that might come in at the next episode for the Japanese Grand Prix. But really annoying because, you know, that update would have been really good for us here at Russia. You know, it is a bit of a power circuit, really. You do need acceleration off those. A lot of 90-degree corners, really awkward off-camber corners. So it would have been helpful, but unfortunately I can't really do much if it just failed. We're going to have to wait till the end of the episode then and re-spend the R&D points essentially to fix that update for the Japanese Grand Prix. I guess at Japan it'll be a double whammy of, you know, feeling better about the car. But anyway, we head into Q1 then. We just have to do the best job we can then through the last corner of the car. To be fair, we're feeling pretty good actually through Q1 then, so we get through pretty easily in P11. Raikkonen straight away up in P2, but you can see the Renaults are looking very strong indeed. So they've had an update in the past. We've seen smaller midfield teams like Force India, when they've had an update like that, they seem to exponentially get better on track, you know, in real terms, and so it seems like it's the same way for Renault here, so they might be right in the mix. You know, they've been little, you know, they've been teasing the top kind of fight between Red Bull and ourselves at Ferrari, but they've never really been consistently there. Maybe this is the start of the Grand Prix, where for the rest of the season now, they're going to be right up there. But we move in Q2 to a second flying lap there, so the first one was not good enough, so we're going to have to burn, unfortunately, 2 sets of Hypersoft tyres in Q2. So Q3, if we get in, hopefully, we're down to P13 right now, so I need to make sure I actually get in. But hopefully, if we do get in, we'll only have 1 set of Hypersofts then to use in the top 10 shootout. But across the line, thankfully, it is going to be a really competitive lap time there, actually, right up there with Raikkonen P2 and P3. We split the 2 Renault, so it's actually looking like a bit of a shootout maybe between Ferrari and Renault. But the only problem is, obviously, Q3, like I said, we can only use 1 set of Hypersofts, so I basically waited to the end of the session, so I had to just wait through and sit through the kind of first kind of like 8 minutes basically of the top 10 shootout. At the moment, Carlos Sainz is on provisional pole, so Renault still looking strong here. I don't know where Kimi is at this point. I think he might be around P3 at the moment in the pecking order on qualifying for tomorrow's race. But let's start off this Q3 lap then and see how we do. But very crucial to not make a mistake. It's our one and only shot. It's the very end of the session. You can see on the top right there, we're going to go over to 0 minutes, so the flag is dropped, and so whoever's on their fastest lap right now will have to end their lap, and that is going to be it. So where can we get to? Obviously no lap time set for us right now, so P10 the top left of your screen. But through turn 2, pretty clean actually, good exit. Probably could have I think I scrubbed off a little bit of speed, so I could have carried a bit more into the entry of that apex. But then we go through to the last sector then under the bridge, pretty good off camber left-hander, and then a major off camber chicane, which is always so tricky in race conditions under heavy fuel. But we just about swing through okay. A little bit of time lost though on the exit, didn't get that as a straight line as I wanted to. And then I guess I got to admit, a little bit of hesitation from me under braking there in the last 2 corners, so I could have maybe lost a tenth or 2 under that brake zone. And we come through across the line, unfortunately down in P7. I mean, it's very close. The timings, you can see, I was only 1,000th off Raikkonen, so again, you can clearly see, unfortunately, the timings have glitched a little bit, but quite peculiarly, they've glitched around my times. Like, I've set an identical lap time to so many people. So in the past, when the qualifying times in Q3 have glitched, it's always been the AI have glitched themselves, and they're like two tenths ahead of me, and that's where the glitching's happening. But I set an exact same time as some other people, so it's almost like this time around, the simulation on the qualifying kind of simulated it based off what I set a lap time of. So very odd situation, but it means we're in P7. It is my lucky number, so hopefully we can move forward in good stead in the race. But it's a Renault lockout then for the Renault Works team. Carlos Sainz, the young Spaniard, on pole position. Hulkenberg in second place. Great to see for their sake there, but both Red Bulls are ahead of us. Obviously, the Red Bulls and Hulkenberg are in the championship fight at the moment with us, coming off the back of last episode, so we need to definitely move forward rather than backwards in this race. Hopefully we can do that at Russia. It's going to be a pretty simple strategy, so it's going to be all about pure pace really and traffic management maybe. But let's get into the intro then and go to Sunday and see how we do there.
Good afternoon from Sochi as we prepare to get underway for the Russian Grand Prix. The championship battle has some time to go yet, but still expect no quarter to be given here on this circuit that made its debut in 2014 and has already seen some classic racing. Situated just 3 miles from the Georgian border, the 3.6-mile Sochi Autodrome has 2 notable overtaking opportunities into turn 1 and then turn 13. 18 corners in total here, 12 to the right and 6 to the left, and it's an average lap speed of around 130 miles per hour. Anthony Davidson joins me again for the race today. Let's talk about Sauber. They've had 1 retirement in the last 5 races. What do you think that says about the reliability of their car?
It's a good statistic for sure, as it demonstrates not only mechanical reliability, but consistency from both drivers as well. These are 2 of the first boxes you have to tick for any successful season.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. An immense lap from Carlos Sainz yesterday puts him in pole position, with Nico Hülkenberg alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Raikkonen, Daniel Ricciardo and Alonso. The engineer, Gasly, Leclerc and Valtteri Bottas. Magnussen, Perez, Romain Grosjean and Van Dorn, Hartley, Ocon, Lewis Hamilton and Sergei Sorokin. Stroll and Marcus Ericsson rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Alright, so here we are on the grid then, P7. Looks like no one got any grid penalties ahead of us to help us out there, so we are indeed going to be behind both Red Bull cars, the Renaults and my teammate Raikkonen, but it's a pretty straightforward strategy, as Russia always is. We have a low abrasion circuit, so hypersoft to the ultrasoft tyres, and really it's all going to be about the race pace at the start here, and then the traffic navigating that once we make a pit stop, but no rain involved at this race either. So here we go then to 5 red lights to the Russian Grand Prix. A very cool sight to see both Renaults on the front row though. 5 red lights are going to be out, and we're underway for 27 laps around Sochi, and it's actually a really great start for us, very uncharacteristically for us, and we nearly try and overtake Alonso, but as we clamp the gears, the McLaren has better acceleration. We make a bit of contact with Fernando as he moves to the left-hand side very aggressively, and Raikkonen down the inside to make it 3 wide into turn 2. We go down the inside of Verstappen, who gets bogged down behind Carlos Sainz. Yellow flag's out there for an incident behind us, but we're up into P3. Carlos Sainz though on the inside, the centrifugal force quite strong with the Renault there. He's able to pull it through to the inside. He's back up into P3, but Raikkonen, my teammate, up into first place of the Grand Prix, taking both Renaults in one foul swoop into turn 2. Fantastic stuff for him. So it is going to be Raikkonen from Hülkenberg, Carlos Sainz in P3, myself in P4, lagging behind a little bit as we move through. This is on lap 3 or 4 of the Grand Prix. Now you can see there's a gap to myself in P4, and there's a bigger gap then to the 2 Red Bull cars, Verstappen and Ricciardo scrapping away. Verstappen at the moment, I believe, is the lead Red Bull ahead of Ricciardo, but at the moment the kind of Ferrari and the Renault cars in a world of their own compared to the entire grid here around Sochi. And then inside our own little bubbles, I can't quite keep up with the 2 Renaults at the moment as they try and hound and pressurise Raikkonen for the race lead. So we're going to have a bit of a lonely first kind of stint here as the 2 Red Bulls still squabble away, with Ricciardo actually getting the better of Verstappen that was, and he's up into P5 that is behind us now. But as we move on then through the Grand Prix, literally I wasn't joking about nothing really happening for us in that first stint, because Nico Hülkenberg is now going to come in for an early pit stop here, and we're going to try and cover him off on lap 7 and try and make an early pit stop and get an undercut on him, but really nothing did happen for those first 7 laps, unfortunately, to show you, apart from those kind of replay cameras of the Red Bull scrapping away. But we're going to come in now for those ultrasoft tyres, probably about 3 laps earlier than the default was saying, but like I said, the tyre weight isn't too high, but that might just come back to bite us a little bit at the end of the Grand Prix, but it might be worth it for the undercut. If we can get through the traffic, we might be able to try and close up quite a fair amount on Carlos Sainz, because Hülkenberg was in P2 ahead of Sainz, and I feel like, visually speaking, I think we are quite close to Hülkenberg still. So, but we've got, oh my god, all this traffic to get past. That's the only issue now. We've got the Sauber, the 2 Mercs, the McLaren of Van Dorn, you've got a Force India there as well, and Hülkenberg's jumped all these guys. So we are now in a world of pain, actually, for the traffic. So I tried to cover up Hülkenberg, and in the end Hülkenberg may have just duped me into some big traffic here for this Grand Prix. So we send one now down the inside of Marcus Ericsson though for a nice overtake. up into P17. But yeah, Hulkenberg is ahead of this entire train here, so I think he might have been a bit mischievous. I think Renault might have tried to call my bluff, really, in that kind of perspective. We'll catch up, though, to Lewis Hamilton pretty rapidly on lap 8, so we should theoretically have the better pace compared to all these cars ahead, but it's still going to be a bit of a difficulty getting past them. It is a bit of a tight circuit in place, especially here. Very difficult to actually make the move stick sometimes, because the car's going to be able to defend very easily on the inside there. Hamilton's going to push us wide, actually squeezing us as much as he can there on the curbing and the green runoff area. We just about managed to squeeze through still. I'm kind of too stubborn to give up the place there on the right-hand side of the circuit. We do make our way through eventually, and so we'll get to the second Mercedes car in a jiffy on lap 9 through turns 2. Bottas quite slow and pedestrian into the entry of turn 2, and also on the exit there, pretty much pushing him through mid-apex, and so he runs a little bit wide, and he's going to open up maybe some room on the left-hand side, but eventually he swings through back on the racing line, so we're going to continue to swing on the right-hand side to the inside then and do what Raikkonen failed to do against Bottas in the late stage of the Russian Grand Prix all the way back in, I think, was it 2015, I want to say? I can't remember quite that long ago even, but meanwhile, Hulkenberg's making some moves on Toro Rosso's, and actually, if I look close enough, I think Hulkenberg's on hyper soft tyres, so Hulkenberg's doing a 2-stop here in this Russian Grand Prix. No, that's kind of answered the question of why he came in so early then on lap 7. I tried to cover him off, assuming he was just doing an aggressive 1-stop there, so I really have been duped by Hulkenberg, because I'm still doing the 1-stop, but it's going to mean now, towards the end of this Grand Prix, I might actually, for once at the Russian Grand Prix, hit some tyre wear, and might have issues with my race pace, because I've gone so early on the Ultras, and might kind of wear them out a bit too much by the time we get to halfway through this stint. So Hulkenberg on the 2-stop, that's very interesting indeed. So he will come back behind us eventually. It'll just be a question of if he has enough pace then at the end of the race to re-overtake us then. So, very odd one. You rarely see a 2-stop there. I guess Hulkenberg, I don't know, maybe that's him being a bit too cocky at how much pace he reckons he has in his Renault to try and come back in this Grand Prix, because if he hits this same sort of traffic, he won't be catching up to Raikkonen and Sainz anytime soon, as we now really have a big old dance with Esteban Ocon there going right to left and trying to hustle and harry him. Eventually we do make our way on the outside of him up into P14, but that was a lot harder than it needed to be on the Force India. We'll now try and close up on Van Dorn down the main straight, gaining a lot of time with the DRS there. The car feeling pretty damn good in straight line actually, ironically, compared to the last couple of episodes around Spa in Italy. And again, like earlier on the Grand Prix, might be able to make a move through turn 3 on the left-hander. We're actually this time on the left-hand side fully to just keep to the inside line there. Van Dorn has to be pushed wide, and we're going to scrub off onto the racing line a bit wide on purpose and get that move easily done. And we're going to be straight on the back of Sergio Perez, who's going very slow for some reason then. We have to go for a very bold move to the inside and cut the curb a little bit, because he's going so slow, and he holds up immediately on the mini-map there. You can see the car's right behind him, so I don't know if he has some sort of issue, but now we're up into P12 then. Grosjean up ahead, hopefully try and catch up to the Haas man soon enough on lap 11. We've got some clouds in the air, so it's a little bit more overcast than it was earlier on, so but there definitely wasn't any forecast for rain, so I'm not too worried about that. And so once we get past Grosjean then, there's going to be a bit of clean air to the Toro Rosso, and then that yellow dot of Nico Hulkenberg. But Raikkonen and Carlos Sainz and both Red Bull cars are yet to pit in this Grand Prix. Actually, speaking of the devil, there you go, Raikkonen pits in this lap. So I assume both Red Bulls, Raikkonen and Sainz, are going to be pitting around now or next lap then. So they've taken those tyres 5 laps longer than I have. So as we go through past Hartley as well, obviously overtook Grosjean there in a straight line. We're up into P5 then, and as we go across the line, we'll overtake the Red Bull cars, obviously Verstappen and Ricciardo as well, and we'll be up into P4 once again. Carlos Sainz P3, Hulkenberg still in P2 then, chasing after Kimi Raikkonen then, but obviously the difference is here, I'm now on much older Ultrasoft tyres. Raikkonen and Sainz going to the end of this Grand Prix, and Hulkenberg on Hypers doing a 2-stop, so very odd situation in this race, but at least behind us, the Red Bulls are still a little bit further back there, but Ricciardo ahead of Verstappen now. Verstappen pits in eventually on the very next lap that was, and so both of them on fresh Ultras trying to close up to us, so that will be a little bit of worry for me that they might be able to close up on us on fresher tyres. And here goes now Hulkenberg's plan for the 2-stop here, a move down the inside of Kimi Raikkonen there. Obviously this is crucial, he has to make this pass stick on the outside. It's actually a really nice move in the end, because Raikkonen gave him a good fight into the corner under the bridge, but Hulkenberg does get that through, but eventually, literally 2 laps after he made that pass, he's going to come in for a pit stop. So I don't really know why Hulkenberg's tried the 2-stop. He doesn't have that overwhelming OP pace to make this 2-stop work to get back into first place. So I think the Renault guys have really cocked up there in terms of their strategy today. And the only thing you can really hope for to get him back into the actual race for the podium and the win will be a safety car, almost like we had, you know, a bit of a miracle safety car to get us back into that race. But even if he gets a safety car, he'll still be down the order in the bottom 10, so it's going to be quite far away from what was obviously second place. If he just pit for ultras, he would have been still second there. He might have been overtaken by Sainz if he pit that early still, but, you know, nonetheless, it would have been better. So, yeah, very weird one there, and definitely of Renault, you know, they've been improving so much this season. If they want to actually be title contenders for the rest of this season and on to the next one, Season 5, they're going to have to start to learn to, you know, pulling off some race-winning strategies and, you know, just going for the more logical one-stop there in that kind of case. So at the moment, though, for us, we're still being chased after by the Red Bull cars, and Sainz is now going to pressurize Raikkonen for the rest of the Grand Prix. But hopefully, for Ferrari's sake, Kimi can keep it cool, as the Iceman hopefully can, and he'll see through that victory. But at the moment, we're just thinking about trying to defend P3, because Ricciardo now is coming at me at a rate of knots in that Red Bull car on the left-hand side there with overtake mode. We still can't defend from him with DRS there, but we're going to go to the inside. He locks up badly, but we ought to lock up ourselves, and he's still there on the inside on the bridge. He pushes me off there. We're going to switch it to the left-hand side for the inside move to the next chicane. Bad lock up from us, though, on the front left, and Ricciardo does have that for now, and Verstappen also snaking about and sniffing about a chance maybe to overtake us, but we're going to stick behind Ricciardo as we move on to lap 17. 10 laps to go in this Grand Prix, so we're going to cross the line. We'll have DRS to re-overtake Ricciardo, and although it may seem we're quite far away, you're going to see how rapidly we're going to close up in this Ferrari car. The Red Bull powered by that Renault engine, they just don't have the straight line speed still, even with all their upgrades. And so for turn 2, it looks like Ricciardo's going to decide to go to the inside there and defend the middle of the circuit. We're going to go around the outside there. We just about keep it on the black stuff there as we go quite deep, but he's gone wide himself, Ricciardo did, and so on the inside line we'll gain a little bit. It's going to be very close, and he wobbles mid-corner there. He's going to brake a little bit too late, though. We're going to do a beautiful switchback move on the racing line there, and we're going to be back up into P3 there. So Ricciardo going a bit too deep and hot on the colour, maybe looking in the mirrors for me there, and just basically made the pass very easily for me. But later that lap on the back straight with DRS, you just know he's going to come back at us, and Verstappen is also a little bit too close for comfort here. We're going to move to the middle of the circuit, but Ricciardo still squeezes through on the outside. It'll be to the next right-hander there. Very tough brake zone, another lock up on the front right, but this time we do squeeze out Ricciardo with a little bit of contact. I think that was on the front nose cone for the Red Bull man, but into the chicane, going a little bit deep there, and you can see how wide I've taken that, and so we have to really cut back to get the next corner done, and so that compromises our race exit there. The acceleration, Ricciardo goes for a big old dive down the inside. Really surprised me that he went for the move there. I just saw his nose pop in on the right hand side, and so he's up the order, but that will mean that we're going to get DRS back on him, so we should be able to re-overtake him. So in reality, actually, he might have just compromised his own racing move, because if he just stayed behind me, he could have done what I'm doing to him, basically. We go around the outside then, and we get ahead of him already before turn 2, and look at that now. Verstappen, even though with a big lock up there on the front right for the Dutchman, he actually makes the move stick on the exit of turn 2. Beautiful little move on his teammate there to be up into P4. Now Ricciardo down to P5, just ahead of Fernando Alonso, and also I think that's the Toro Rosso of Brendan Hartley, or actually no, Pierre Gasly I want to say, but there's been some contact then with the Red Bull. Actually, I think you could have saw there a bit of end plate went off, and so Alonso dives down the inside and gets the move done on Ricciardo, so a bit of an annoying contact there for the Red Bull guys. Meanwhile, we've got Hulkenberg finally coming back into this Grand Prix. He overtakes Ricciardo, because Ricciardo goes down the order by 3-4 places there with the front wing damage that he's got, and so only now Hulkenberg's making into the kind of top points there in the top 10, but you can see what I mean by how far Hulkenberg is now off that podium. The two-stop just was never going to work for him, really, in reality. Now back to our PV on lap 21, 7 laps to go in this race, and no longer 2 Red Bulls attacking me, but just 1, and then Fernando Alonso is going to try and overtake Verstappen on the outside of turn 2, but no, Verstappen is the one with a worldly dive bomb down the inside of turn 2, then through to turn 3. Verstappen on the outside, well, the inside line is going to be the worst line into turn 4 on the outside there, so he's going to have the better line to the inside, but he comes in real hard to Verstappen. What the hell was he doing there? He's literally gone so deep, locked up as well for good measure, slammed into our right-hand side car and pushed us off wide. We're down to P7 or worse. There was some contact made on the exit, I think with another car, maybe Leclerc, but let's take a look at a replay then and see what went on there between ourselves and Verstappen there. So obviously he's on the outside line, he has the better inside line to make a dive, but he just goes way too hot, double lock up there, slams me off wide, and he actually makes contact with Charles Leclerc there. I think that was in the Sauber, but a mega dive bomb in turn 2, so, you know, kudos to that. But then turn 3. He's on the outside, obviously, on his POV now. You can't actually see where I am. Now we come into view, and we've actually got the better line into the brake zone there, but he comes, look at that. He's never going to make that corner. He doesn't make that corner if he doesn't hit my car. He used my car as a brake stop, basically, so that is poor form from Verstappen and one of my championship rivals there. Really unfortunate, and so we're down to P8. We're around the outside of Leclerc, though, who, like we said, got some damage off Verstappen, so up into P7 then, but I already had worn tyres anyway. The pace wasn't that great, but now down the order, there's just no chance I can probably catch up to these guys because they themselves are still fighting. Hulkenberg now on the outside of turn 2 to Verstappen, who now has maybe got some damage of his own after he hit Leclerc there, and onto potentially myself, and so Hulkenberg finds his way through there, and he's up into, I think, what's that? I think P5 now, because Alonso P4 and Gasly at the moment in a great P3 for the Toro Rosso team there, and it's still going to be Sainz and Raikkonen, I believe, in P2 and P1, but Hulkenberg now finding his way up the order. He'll try and chase after Alonso and Gasly. If he could overtake those guys, then fair play. He's going to get back up into a podium position. So actually, it all kind of ends up. I was saying he needed some safety car miracle. He got the miracle of Verstappen punting me off and going slow then in the end. And so the last kind of moves in this Grand Prix were for the last points paying position. This is Brendan Hartley overtaking Ricciardo then in a straight line with DRS open. There Ricciardo still limping around with that damage then. So the Kiwi man ahead of the Aussie. And so we move now on to the last lap of the Grand Prix. Pierre Gasly in P3 now in a great podium, getting away from Alonso, who's being pressurized by the Renault there of Hulkenberg. So it might be a last lap overtake, but we go yellow flags, and oh no, Gasly slows down, and that is such a shame for the Frenchman there. He was on for a good podium last lap of the Grand Prix, and he retires from the Russian Grand Prix, and so it'll be Raikkonen that does come through then to win the Russian Grand Prix. Second place will be Carlos Sainz. Third place then goes to Fernando Alonso. Hulkenberg P4, good recovery for him with the 2-stop there. Verstappen in P5, we're up to P6 as Gasly retires on the last lap of the Grand Prix. Is Honda giving out? That's really unfortunate. They've not really had that many reliability issues really, Honda with Toro Rosso. They've been so good this season. They're ahead of Mercedes in the Constructors' Championship, doing a mega job, and that would have been another amazing podium for the small Italian outfit there, but unfortunately for them, it's a retirement. For us, going to be up into P6 then at the end of that Grand Prix. Nothing much else to really say about that.
Bad luck. It just wasn't our day today.
A great win then for the Maranello team today. And I have to wonder, Anthony Davidson, just what set them apart from the competition here.
The difference was clearly in the strategy. You could tell they'd done a lot of work on the pit wall to really optimise each stint and get the most out of the tyres. And it highlights just how much of a team sport this really is. And the credit to the driver as well, though. There's no good having a well-oiled machine behind the scenes without a talented hand on the wheel, of course.
Well, I'm thoroughly exhausted after the excitement of that race, but I'm sure it's nothing compared to our drivers here. They've worked hard to make it up there, and it's great to see them make their way out onto the podium.
So Raikkonen gets another win then for Ferrari. I believe that's his 4th win of the season then. We've had 3 ourselves. So it's been actually quite a strong season really in reality for Ferrari. And for the Constructors, this might be quite a good result. But for us in the Drivers' Championship, obviously we still are in the lead. But it does cut down our lead by a little bit to Verstappen and Hulkenberg both finishing ahead of us. And you can see Raikkonen once again comes right back into the fold there in the top 5 ahead of Ricciardo now. Both Raikkonen and Ricciardo though are some way a little bit off Hulkenberg and Verstappen. So at the moment it looks like more like a 3-horse race, but you could say if Raikkonen and Ricciardo get a little bit lucky and get another win whilst the 3 of us at the top there maybe have some more bad luck, they could well make it a 5-way fight for the championship. At the moment I would say it's between myself, Hulkenberg and Verstappen there, but constructors wise, like I said, it's a good day for Ferrari. For the first time in a long while now, since the very beginning of season 4, we lead the constructors now ahead of Red Bull Racing, so good stuff there for us. Obviously Raikkonen did the best part of that, you know, getting that win, but obviously my P6 kind of adds to that. But yeah, you know, at one point we were 90 points off. I like to always reiterate that because, you know, it does kind of show the resilience and the good return to form that we've had midway through this season in the European kind of part of the season, with Raikkonen winning all those races and then ourselves obviously winning the last race of the Italian Grand Prix, 2 races ago I should say. You know, it all adds up. But we go to the end of this episode then with a contract renewal, but you know, yeah, a bit of a sour taste in my mouth after that episode. I can't really do much, you know, the pace wasn't that great in the middle of the race, but you know, as soon as Verstappen hit us off there, pretty much race over in terms of getting any more than P6. You know, even got lucky to get that ahead of Pierre Gasly. But we go into the contract negotiations then. My reputation took a hit after that race, so I had to go a little bit lower than I wanted to on some of the perks there. In the end, though, we do get a successful negotiation, so I'm still a first driver at Ferrari, thankfully, with a few good perks in the contract there. But, you know, it definitely hasn't been the easiest time in plain sailing at Ferrari in terms of the reputation here. They are definitely a very demanding team. You can definitely see that, and as they should be. They are Ferrari, but you know, obviously, so you know, it's to be expected, but it definitely has been a bit rockier than I thought it would be. But at the end of the episode then, before we round out things, we're going to repurchase the ultimate weight reduction upgrade, obviously, that we had to fix, that got failed at the beginning of this episode, so we redo that. We can look forward to that update for the Japanese Grand Prix. But guys, if you did enjoy the episode, then nonetheless, smash that like button. Let me know your thought in the comments below. If you're around here, get subscribed for weekly full-on content. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.